Welcome to the Agorist Unconference presentation on using technology to advance liberty. Before I get into the program, please note the link at the bottom of the page. All of the material used to create this presentation is available for free download here. This presentation is made available under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike license. Headlines like the one you see flashing by have been in the news lately, including the government seizing domain names, wanting to make streaming a felony, ordering Twitter to give up user information, forcing people to unlock encrypted files, convicting someone who tried to create an alternate currency, and of course the attempts to completely shut down the internet in Egypt and Libya. Assault on people's freedoms are coming from all directions. Many people, of course, are fighting back. In the political arena, we have the Tea Parties and similar organizations. There are also individuals who, at personal risk, are fighting through the legal system and the courts. This presentation is about another way to fight back, by using technology. I hope to provide a quick and mostly non-technical overview of some of the technologies either currently available or under development which can be utilized to protect freedom and liberty. While it can take a great deal of courage and money to stand up to the bullying of governments, or through the abuse of the legal system, large corporations, technology allows a low-risk, low-cost means of fighting back. First, full disclosure, I have no association with any of these projects beyond that of an ordinary user. Further, the ones I have chosen to talk about were chosen simply for their appropriateness to this presentation. It certainly does not represent a comprehensive list. The topics I will cover today include means of bypassing the ability of central authorities to block certain types of internet access, encryption and anonymizing in the context of personal data, blogging, forums, email, file transfer, chatting, and even a monetary system independent of both fiat currencies and banks. In most cases, all of the applications I'm going to talk about are available on at least the three main platforms of Microsoft Windows, the Apple Mac, and various flavors of Linux. In some cases, they are also available on smartphones, tablet PCs, and related devices. As the smartphones and tablets get more powerful, more of these applications should be finding their way onto them too. In addition, almost all of these applications are what is known by the acronym FOSS, or Free and Open Source Software, meaning that since the source code is open to inspection, it is unlikely to have any hidden backdoors or other maliciously planted vulnerabilities. A complete set of links is included at the end of the presentation for finding out more about the individual technologies. The purpose of this presentation is to hopefully whet your appetite. It is also important to point out that many of these applications are still early in the developmental stages, so fair warning to the technologically timid, some of these may be somewhat daunting to set up at the present time. The first topic I'm going to talk about is DNS, or the Domain Name System or Service. This is the Internet service which translates human-readable domain names into their equivalent numeric Internet addresses. This has made the news on several occasions lately, both with WikiLeaks' U.S. registrar, EveryDNS, blocking DNS access to the U.S. WikiLeaks site, and where over 80 sites were seized by the U.S. government, mostly for dealing in counterfeit goods or sharing copyrighted material. To combat this, WikiLeaks, for example, has published a list of all of its mirror sites and associated numeric IP addresses at wikileaks.info, and through which the sites can be directly accessed by IP address in the event they are blocked by DNS. Here you can see the number of WikiLeaks mirrors around the world. You see on the left side the DNS name, the wikileaks.something, and on the right side the equivalent numeric addresses that can be used in case the DNS name is blocked. In the U.S., ICANN, or the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, controls the root name servers from which this table of names and addresses propagates throughout the Internet. So while not defending any of the actions resulting in the blocking or seizing of these domains, this shows that under the current ICANN-controlled registration system, the government or other central agents can potentially shut down anything considered undesirable, which is certainly a direct threat on free speech, among other liberties. There have been several attempts in the past to take on the ICANN-controlled DNS registration system. However, the most serious attempt seems to be the one started by Pirate Bay co-founder Peter Sund and referred to as P2P DNS. P2P is short for peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer first received widespread recognition with the file-sharing service Napster, but today probably is the best-known application is BitTorrent. There are also many others, including several that I will be presenting shortly. A simple description of a peer-to-peer application is one in which there are no central servers. Instead, the members of the network, otherwise known as the peers, provide all of the data and functionality. So what is being proposed with P2P DNS is a means by which name and address information is provided by the peers on the network, independent of ICANN or any central servers. It would circumvent one of the simplest means of blocking content on the internet, but would not prevent other means such as blocking specific IP addresses, specific services known by the ports on which they run, or through what is called deep packet inspection. I will be presenting some ways of dealing with those as we proceed. The first application I'm going to show is called the Osiris Serverless Portal System. This is an application developed in Italy which provides forum and blog type functionality, but where the information resides among peers in the network rather than on central servers. Osiris defines itself, and you'll have to pardon the poor translation from Italian to English, as an engine that makes possible to build anarchic forums and portals where members directly choose rules and conventions by themselves. Two types of portals are supported: anarchic, meaning the members make the rules, and monarchic, in which one member defines the rules of the portal. Here is the entry point to various portals. The one I'm going to go to is one of the few English portals appropriately named the General English Osiris Portal. Another active portal, which you saw at the bottom, is the Serverless Friends. Unfortunately, despite the English name, it is mostly in Italian. These portals are generally immune to denial-of-service type attacks or other attacks effective against central servers, as well as having no dependency on centralized services like DNS. You can see here briefly that on the left you have a basic forum, and on the right you have kind of a blog of announcements. This system allows you to set up forums, blogs, that sort of thing, but in a peer-to-peer topology rather than a server-centric topology. Be forewarned, the documentation is still mostly in Italian, and there are not many people currently using the system, so it can often take a very long time to connect to some of the portals. Another standalone anonymous P2P application, which I don't have time to show right now, is StealthNet, which is used primarily for file sharing. I chose to present these applications first because they basically stand on their own. The next group of applications run on top of generic encrypting and anonymizing platforms. Three platforms which provide a foundation on which many different services can be supported are Tor, I2P, and Freenet. These services are of the type already familiar on the internet, but which protect privacy and security. All of these are similar in the sense that they encrypt and relay off member nodes in their network to hide the content, the origin, and in some cases even the destination of the communication. They each have a slightly different focus and feature set, so should be viewed more as complementary rather than competing systems. Tor, for instance, is particularly good at allowing someone to anonymously browse the internet. Here is the current Tor network map representing the members of the Tor network, once I find it. And here you can see over on the left, it gives a list of relays available through Tor. You can see there's quite a number of them, over 2,000 of them, and a basic map and so on. What I'm going to do now is go to a site, wrong browser, I'm going to the site, what is my IP address? And this will return both my IP address and where it thinks that I am located. With the page you see here, with Tor turned off, thinks that I'm located in Chadford, Pennsylvania. While that's actually off by about 40 miles, it is at least in the ballpark. Now what I'm going to do is reload with Tor enabled and see where it thinks that I am. And since it has to relay off a large number of hops to anonymize and encrypt the information, it's going to take a little bit to pull that back up. But hopefully it will show up here very quickly. And I have no idea. Gulf of Guinea? What's that, off of Africa someplace? It looks like it thinks that I am. So anyway, with Tor turned on, you can see that what is my IP address thinks that I am located in a very different part of the world. The reason it does this is because the whatismyipaddress.com can only see what is known as the exit node, or the last node through which communication relayed. And that happened to be this place out in the middle of the Atlantic, apparently. Anyone that monitored my communications would find it very difficult, if not impossible, to determine the end destination or what information I was getting. Further, any entries in the log files maintained by whatismyipaddress.com, which a court order might order released, would be completely meaningless as far as identifying the originator. Bear in mind, this will not protect you in the case where you have to set up an account under services such as Google or Facebook or Twitter and have logged in. As in the recent case with Twitter, where court ordered the release of information related to accounts thought to be used by several people associated with WikiLeaks. In this case, you are still identifiable at least through the email address used at registration, but there are solutions to that too. I'm now going to switch over to I2P, which is better at doing a couple of other things. On the left, you can see some information about the I2P network, including number and type of peers, bandwidth utilization, etc. One of the services available under I2P is email, called SUSEmail. And I'm just going to log in through what is my SUSEmail account, which you can see I set up one for Agorist. And since, again, it's going over an anonymizing network, bouncing off a large number of nodes, it is going to take a little bit to log in. But here you can see a webmail type interface with one email that I went and sent to myself. This is from the email I created called Agorist. And assuming and anyone can send an email to that also is running I2P by sending it to agorist@mail.i2p. You can even use an ordinary email client such as Outlook or Thunderbird to access your I2P mail. And just like the internet, any number of email providers can be set up. SUSEmail is just one such provider. Another feature under I2P is I2P Snark. At the top are links to several anonymous services providing lists of available torrents. They are anonymous because they are what in I2P nomenclature are called EAP sites. Anonymous sites which can only be accessed through running I2P, but hidden from the general internet. Anybody can bring up an EAP site, and I2P comes with one pre-installed. And here is the pre-installed EAP site, which you can replace with your own website to serve up anonymously. This feature is available under some of the other anonymizing platforms, including Tor, where they're called hidden services, and Freenet, where they're called free sites. Basically, all of them are simply websites, with the difference that they exist on the respective anonymizing networks and thus would be very hard, if not impossible, to physically locate. In addition, they do not require DNS and are immune to most denial-of-service types of attacks, cannot be blocked by IP address, and in most cases immune to port blocking. Another application which layers on top of Tor or I2P is Syndy, S-Y-N-D-I-E. This is a peer-to-peer blogging and forum service similar to Osiris, but rather than having built-in anonymizing and security features, it simply layers on top of networks already possessing those features. For anyone that is going to try any of these services in a serious manner, I would recommend looking into Privoxy, P-R-I-V-O-X-Y, a local proxy utility which can make things a lot easier when it comes to switching between the non-anonymized browsing and the use of any of these services. A couple of caveats need to be made before moving on. First, these services do not guarantee anonymizing the content of any information communicated. For instance, identifying information embedded in Office documents, flash files, pictures, and so on can still give away some information if one is not careful. Additionally, these services do not hide the fact that you are using them. Anyone monitoring your activity would not be able to discern the content, but they can know that they are in use. Lastly, the more people that use these networks, the greater the anonymity, simply as a consequence of the numbers. Next up is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a rather interesting application implementing an anonymous digital cryptocurrency. It made some headlines back in February when the Bitcoin reached parity with the US dollar. It has retreated some since then, which is not surprising considering how quickly it rose at one point. Here is a graph of the increase in value of the Bitcoin starting from I guess that's July of last year up until the early part of March. Another useful site is Bitcoin Watch, which will give you what the value is on the various exchanges, what the equivalent values are, how many Bitcoins are in circulation, how many transactions have occurred over various periods, and so on. Bitcoin is a virtual currency independent of any national fiat currencies and, in fact, of banking systems themselves. Purchases can be made without incurring banking fees by either party, as is the case with credit or debit cards, checks, PayPal, and similar banking instruments. The transactions are largely anonymous, both with respect to the parties of the transaction and the goods or services involved, and incurs either no fee or a very small transaction fee under certain circumstances. Bitcoin was started by a person going by the name Satoshi Nakamoto, an alias most likely derived from the names of four Japanese technology companies, Samsung, Toshiba, Nakamichi, and Motorola. Otherwise, very little is known about him. Bitcoin derived from another proof-of-work system known as Hashcash, which attempted to be a spam deterrent by adding a stamp to the header of an email as proof that some amount of CPU time had been used to generate and send the email. In 2009, Satoshi released open-source software which took this concept and incorporated a peer-to-peer means of verification of work and basic cryptographic security. Among the things the peer-to-peer network ensures is that coins can only be spent by the person who owns them, and that they cannot be double spent. The integrity of the system is maintained by the peer-to-peer network, which verifies all transactions. The system is very difficult to corrupt because anyone trying to do so would need to control over 50% of the CPU processing capacity in the peer-to-peer Bitcoin network. Bitcoins can be sent and received directly through the Bitcoin client. This is the Bitcoin client here. If, for instance, you want to send coins, you just select Send Coins, surprisingly enough. If someone wants to send, if you want to have someone send you coins, you just give them your Bitcoin address, which you can see there at the top, and they can then send you Bitcoins in payment for whatever it is that you have to offer. Additionally, Bitcoin has a set of libraries which allows things such as websites and other services to directly access transactions via Bitcoin and the various services of Bitcoin so that it can be done automatically. Another interesting aspect of Bitcoin is how the Bitcoins are generated. This is also done through a proof-of-work system where individuals, known as miners, attempt to solve mathematical problem and where the difficulty is based on the amount of computational processing power committed to the task in the Bitcoin network. I'm going to go and set Bitcoins to generating. So now this little application is going to try to generate some Bitcoins. However, as of this writing, an average desktop or notebook computer capable of around 2,000 K hashes per second would take an average of about 5 years to generate one block of coins, which at the present time contains exactly 50 coins. Currently, serious mining is being performed by high-end graphic cards with hundreds of cores and devices known as FPGAs, or field programmable gate arrays, which are much faster at solving these types of mathematical problems than general-purpose CPUs. A block currently consists of 50 Bitcoins, and the system maintains a block generation rate averaging 6 blocks per hour. The number of coins per block will decrease over time, resulting in an absolute maximum of 21 million Bitcoins in the system. This makes it an inherently deflationary system which cannot be undermined by simply issuing more Bitcoins, as is the case with any fiat currency system. Bitcoins are kept in a wallet file which can be copied, encrypted, and otherwise secured against loss or theft. Which now brings me to personal encryption and securing sensitive information. In particular, I'm going to talk about the case where one might be forced to reveal secured information. This may occur at the hands of a thief, travel in a foreign country which does not afford the protections of the U.S. Fifth Amendment, or even in the U.S. where there is at least some debate as to the extent that passwords are protected by the Fifth Amendment. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but one only need read the grand jury subpoena against Sebastian Boucher to see that there is some debate as to the extent passwords are protected. TrueCrypt provides one means of addressing these situations. It is another freely available open source application for encrypting sensitive information, such as the Bitcoin wallet file we just discussed. But TrueCrypt has several interesting features above general encryption of files or drives. The first concerns encrypting an entire drive, be it a hard drive or removable media such as a flash drive. TrueCrypt can encrypt it through, give me just a second here while I bring up the TrueCrypt. TrueCrypt can encrypt a drive through a number of encryption methods and strengths, but it can also create what it calls a hidden volume. There is no hiding the fact that encryption has been used, but someone could try to force you to provide the password to decrypt it. TrueCrypt allows you to set up what are called decoy and hidden volumes. The decoy volume provides plausible deniability as to the total contents of the media, revealing only what you want to reveal. Under force, one could reveal the password for the decoy volume, which would not provide access to the sensitive information. It would then be very difficult, if not impossible, to prove that there was any additional information on the device. So what I have attached is a thumb drive, and I'm going to go and mount that drive. The first thing I'm going to do is mount the decoy partition with the incredibly creative password of decoy. You, of course, should not use short passwords like this. This is just for demonstration. As the adage goes, length is strength, so the longer the better, and TrueCrypt recommends passwords of about 20 characters in length. Come on. And so now it has mounted the device, and we'll go and open that. Hopefully. There we go. And you'll see I just have 4 files on there called decoy1, 2, 3, and 4.txt. So now we're going to go dismount that drive, mount it again, but this time we're going to use the secret password, which surprisingly is secret, which now mounts the partition again, and you can see that instead of seeing the decoy.txt files, we now see the secret.txt files. This is where you would put the sensitive information that you wanted to hide from anyone that tried to get that information from you. Another powerful feature of TrueCrypt is the ability to create a hidden operating system. Currently, this feature is only available on the Windows platform. What it does is allows the installation of an operating system in a hidden volume like we just showed. Thus, you would boot to the decoy operating system under duress, but use the hidden operating system for any sensitive activity. So the last thing I'm going to talk about today are what are known as mesh networks. Mesh networks are ad hoc networks of wireless devices. And ad hoc means that they are not dependent upon any pre-existing infrastructure. And wireless devices include wireless routers, smartphones, tablet computers, and of course ordinary computers with wireless capabilities. A mesh network would be mostly immune to takedown attempts, as have recently occurred in Egypt and Libya, not to mention the ability to circumvent restrictions in place in many other parts of the world. Even a mesh network completely cut off from the internet would still allow the member devices to communicate with each other. They can be very robust because all that is required for a device to join the network is that it be within range of just one other similarly enabled device. There's quite a bit of development activity in this area, as evidenced by the fact that there are currently over 70 different competing protocols, as well as a pending IEEE standard. Well, I hope I was able to pique your interest enough that you might look into some of these technologies further. The main thing any of these technologies need is for people to get involved so that they can reach critical mass, bringing them to the general population, as opposed to remaining in as niche applications for the technology geeks. Those with technical skills can certainly contribute in that manner. Other less technical needs also exist, such as translations into other languages, documentation, etc. Lastly, all of these groups gladly accept financial donations. Some will even take bitcoins. There are many ways to fight for individual liberties. Presented here are a few more to add to the arsenal. The last thing I'm going to do before signing off is to scroll through the related links and references and the boring legal section, including my contact information. If watching this on YouTube or other non-live video, you could pause at this point to copy down any interesting links. As mentioned at the beginning, all of the materials used in creating this presentation are available through GitHub at https://github.com/ehj666/agorist. Thanks for watching.